What's up, gamers? Welcome back. This is the Battle Mallet Podcast, episode 24. What day is it? I don't know. I have no
lost.
idea.
Where have you guys been? I don't even know what's happening.
No,
I've been lost
I
in the warp, sir.
I don't know.
Traveled into the Eye of Terror and got sucked out 60 days later.
Yeah, you can just call me Christoph because I am lost in the woods. So the Battle Mallet Podcast, delving into the minds of four busy gamers, their annual journey to the Nova Open Convention, maybe? Playing games that we love and balancing life with those games. I'm Jared Johnson, and I'm here with Trey Side.
Lost in the warp. Lost in the warp.
And Jason Table Noob Murray.
Time is relative.
It's a flat circle. That's what I hear.
Time is a flat circle.
I thought that was the Earth.
I think that depends on who you ask. So it's been a minute. I don't even know what day it is, but we've got a lot to catch up on. So in this episode, we're going to cover those elements that were pertinent to us from the Games Workshop previews, and spend probably most of our time talking about doing life in quarantine. So before we get into that, we do want to catch up on what everybody's been up to. So we'll start with Trace.
Yeah, it's been different. I think most of what I've been doing is painting and just kind of talking to everybody. Like, not really doing a lot of games, but just kind of talking to people. I was doing pretty good for a little while, had a pretty good head of steam as far as like painting goes, but then that kind of fell off, and I think a lot of that, well, we'll get to that later, but not been doing a whole lot of hobbying, really. Watching more TV, trying to spend time with the kid, stuff like that. That's really what I've been up to. Jason, what about you?
I have hobbied. I mean, I am a online playing machine, I guess you'd say. I've played a lot of Underworlds online, and then played Underworlds via online for the tabletops side of it. For me, I've been part of two leagues from an online format with Underworlds. Lucky for me, I got to play a guy called Mad Angry in one of those leagues in the championship. It was a great game. Pulled it out in the end with Lady Mournflight. So pretty happy to finally capture a win. With that warband. Been playing. I've captured lots of wins, but finally to see it come all the way through, and in that league, a lot of good players. But
does this mean you're going away?
Well, they will. So yeah, we'll get to that. So I played them again last night. It did not go in my favor, but the other league kind of made it to the playoffs on that online league. Played them in that as well. Played them throughout. Got off to a really, really hot start in that league. I think I was like 3-0, and then dropped 2 games. And then in the 4th game to make it into the playoffs, I played a certain someone that was trash talking a few weeks ago by the name of Max Bernstein in the Battle for Salvation podcast. Max and I went into the last week of the league, and we both needed a win to get into the playoffs. And someone, I won't say his name again, couldn't pull it out. We're not nice enough to get a game in during the day, both of us wrangling the kids, but to get that online game in, and then for myself, making it to the playoffs for that league was enjoyable with Lady Mournflight. Played the second round in the playoffs a little early, played last night against a guy from Germany. He had Nurgle, and I lost 2-1, so I took the first game. 1 boards offset, kind of got the passive glory, had some dice going my way. Second game, he took it to me. He got right on top of me. He wore 1 boards. Couldn't kind of defend the aggro, And more importantly, when I needed attacks to go through, they didn't go through. And when they needed to be blocked, they didn't block. So lost the second game. Third game came down to the last turn, and I lost by 3 glory. So it was a very, very close, a nail biter. Was a highly enjoyable game, and glad to see Nurgle. I've been playing against Nurgle a lot. Actually played as Nurgle a few times. And for anyone sleeping on Nurgle, there's some play there. As you would see from the online tournament that happened. I also partook in that. Had a great time. I want to thank Jimmy, friend of the show, for hosting that wonderful tournament online. He was the TO. A ton of good players. I think there was 30 players involved. If you want more detailed information, Jimmy, Amon, and Jonathan recap it on the Path to Glory podcast. Really, really good episode there. But was happy to partake in that. My first game, I got Grimwatched in that tournament. And what I mean by that is my very first game, I think it was turn 1, playing against Grimwatch with Lady Mournflight. And I'm pretty sure that the Grimwatch player put up 16 glory in turn 1. I was just like, I don't even know what to do, but I'm so used to it now playing against Grimwatch. And sometimes the card just come out that way. Going into game 2, was able to pull out the win, and we actually tied. We had only a few minutes left to go into a game 3, so we decided to call it 1-1. He did have glory differential, but playing 1 game to 1 game, it went down in BCP as a tie. Second game I played against Jonathan Davis against a Skaven. Should have had him, but just the little mistakes. You think playing at home and having extended time to play in the comfort of your own home, you would not make any mistakes from a decision standpoint. Jonathan and I played 3 great games. I won the first handedly. He won the second handedly. Going into the third, I think it was because we were running out of time. I decided to distract or call to the grave, which is pull a Skaven 2 spaces closer to me into a lethal and kill him, completely forgetting that they have the card to bring back a Skaven. So I thought he would have to burn an activation, which would have been the last activation, but he played the card, and I know, I play Skaven. I'm just a brain fart, right? So he brings that Skaven back. He charges in Lady. He hits on her for 2 damage. She's not dead. So, okay, we're good. If I win the next roll in the third turn to go first, I have Lady. I have 2 fighters. I can probably go through a little bit of my deck. Well, he goes first. Scritch comes in, takes out Lady, and that's game. He ends up by winning by 3 glory. Very, very hard fought game, and he probably maybe still takes it even if I don't make that mistake, but just memory lapse. I couldn't believe it. But going on to the next game, played against Man Trappers with Lady, and that was my best game of the day. I 2-0'd. So here I am, 1-1-1. The goal is to have a winning record. Go into the last game, and I play against Gitz. Once again, go 3 games, so win the first handedly. Second one, he barely squeaks out. Third one, last activation, I have 2 pushes and Restless Prize. And you want to talk about just fatigue, your wife knocking on the door asking when you're coming for dinner because we're already half an hour late. Those are all the excuses, but I just done messed up, boys. I had 2 pushes and Restless Prize. Lady had Cryptic Companion on her. I got so focused on scoring Cryptic Companion that I failed to notice they had pushed the Fanatic close to an objective. I basically rigmaroled so I could get on an objective and maybe kill a Git. The better play would have been to charge across with her, try to kill somebody. If I don't kill somebody, I now have 2 pushes and Restless Prize to keep supremacy, because he had supremacy and he had keys. Now he still would have scored 1 key. There would have been nothing I could have done to prevent 1 from scoring, but I could have prevented the other one from scoring on the Fanatic, and more importantly, I would have stopped supremacy, which I probably would have won by 1 glory, but brain fart, used all my pushes and my Restless Prize to get Lady Harrow over to an objective to miss an attack. I got my 1 glory, and he ended up by scoring 7 glory at the end of turn 3 to take it by 5 points. So Oof. It was rough. It was rough, but he is a great player. He's known online as a Gitz player, so he made no mistakes. He was very aggro with the Squigs and Drizgit. to kind of tie you up early turn, setting up his moves. So it was, listen, online play has been a lot of fun. I've had a ton of great matches against some of the top opponents in the community. So my hobby has been strong. I also finished painting Venom. So on our last episode, I mentioned that I was painting models. Yeah, but it stopped right after that. I think we finished it like the next day or the following day. I've stopped. I have assembled some models. I put together, what are they, the Hex Wraiths or something for Age of Sigmar. I don't know. They're like ghosty looking things. I've put together more Marvel Crisis Protocol models for those that actually did come out. And then just really been working a lot on decks and playing the official Warhammer Underlines video game and putting in some time there too, and chatting with you bros when you're available. So that's my wonderful hobby experience over the last 60 days. Jared, what about you?
Yeah, so a lot of online play, but mostly recently. So took part in one of the online leagues in both of the online leagues, but didn't make the cutoff. So I went 3-3 in the one, and that was fun. I went back to the Wild Hunt just because I wanted something that was going to be a little bit mindless and not necessarily cause me to have to think a whole lot. I just don't have the brain capacity now, and we'll get into that when we talk about what it's been like living life under quarantine. But I've been having a lot of fun, and here recently downloaded the Warhammer Underworlds online because I figured out that once you get queued, it takes, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 minutes to get a game in. It just seems to be a little bit faster than maybe playing in person. I guess there's no banter, which certainly helps. So played some games with Far Striders, played some games with the Iron Jaws there, and it feels like putting on like your favorite pair of blue jeans to be playing the Iron Jaws in Season 1 again. So for anybody that is not familiar, that was my go-to warband. I think I played it almost exclusively through Season 1. I don't think I touched another warband until after Nova 2018.
I am the Underworld's player I am today, thanks to Jared bashing me with Iron Skull Boys.
Over and over and over. But it's been fun and it's been good. I believe I can't keep track of days. I don't know what's going on. I think since we recorded last, I've assembled 6 Age of Sigmar models. They may have been assembled before then. I don't even know anymore. I don't know what's going on.
That's the real reason why I said what I said, is because I can't remember what I did prior to and what I've done post last episode.
No, I don't know. It's so bad. But I do remember that in our last episode, Danny answered the question, can I play Marvel Crisis Protocol with my wife? And his answer was yes, and I can confirm that answer. So I've gotten a couple of games in of Marvel Crisis Protocol, and like a classic dice game that it is, if the dice are swingy, it is a negative play experience for one of the players. And unfortunately, that was my wife. I was doing what I can to engage her in every aspect of the game. Like, I'm not going to play dumb against her, but I'm also not going to optimize every single thing that I can do. I would rather her be able to use her superpowers and be able to throw Cap Shield and have it bounce and hit another one of my guys. And, so I was setting things up so that things could happen, so that it could be a fun experience. And then, she is attacking Crossbones with Iron Man, who has 2 energy defense, and just attack, crit defense. Just, and
Sounds
as we
like
talked about, every
Underworlds.
time you roll a critical defense, it not only counts as a success, but you also get to roll another dice. And so there would be times where she would get 3 or 4 successes, and I would roll a success and a crit, and then the crit would turn into 2 more successes. So it was just not good. But since then, Atomic Mass Games.
He was rolling crit defenses, Trace.
Course,
does
yeah.
this surprise you?
No,
it doesn't
not at all.
No,
It's just par for the course.
Dude can't roll a crit to save his life on the attack, but on defense, here they come, all of them.
Especially when they're 1 dice. If they're one die, just boom, sticks it
Crit,
every
boom,
time.
crit. No, yeah. It what's that? It makes me want to play that card, the Grievous Riposte, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Yeah. In Underworld's that's not a Marvel Crisis Protocol. But back to Marvel Crisis Protocol. Atomic Mass Games has released an AI version of the fight against Ultron. So there's some mapped out behavior for Ultron, and so you can team up, either play, one person controlling, the team to fight Ultron, or you could split the models. And so I think that's going to be our next venture into Marvel Crisis Protocol, so with Daniela and I. So we gave that a shot. But I mean, it's basically been it. Been a lot of Switch games with the family, and that's been fun and different. So been a lot of Super Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, as my son is fond of saying. You got to say the full title. Some Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and we've got Mario Party. So just been playing a lot of that, and it's been pretty fascinating to watch the 3-year-old be able to actually play Mario Party.
Nice.
So
that's awesome. So to go back to the games with your wife, the last episode we talked about hashtag, war game challenge or quarantine challenge, whatever you call it, whatever cool slogan you came up with. But so what was her read on it? Did she hate it?
No, so I think she likes the thematics of it. I think she just gets frustrated because, it's my hobby, right? Tabletop games are my hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So she feels like if we ever play against each other, that she's always on her back foot, because, this is, if I'm not spending time with my family, I'm not working, I'm not sleeping, I'm probably playing or thinking about playing or painting, it's just what happens. And so that's just where my headspace is. So I think that there's some frustration on her part when it comes to doing that. So I'm hopeful that these AI co-op modes will
help
let us play together, as opposed to being, an antagonistic game.
Yeah. Same thing here. Played Battle Masters after that challenge with Sarah and Emma. Emma loved it.
Well, yeah.
Battle Masters is vintage GW. It's so simple. Here's the dice. There's a number on the back of the model. They roll X dice. There's a cool few mechanics in it. Emma absolutely loved it. And honestly, I loved it, to get back to that simple play, but there's still a lot of thought that goes into movement. But Sarah, she's just rolling the dice. She's like, how many do I have to roll? I don't have to throw in the dice. It's all right, thanks for playing. Hey, we tried. We tried to get that challenge done. So
that's right.
Jenny agreed to do it with me, but we just haven't done it yet. So she agreed to play Warcry with me, but we haven't actually completed that challenge yet. But
yeah,
we're still in quarantine, so
that's right. It's just still a chance. There's still time.
We're in phase 1, yo. It's
that's right.
Freedom.
Or not.
No. Or definitely not.
Definitely not. No. So yeah, I think that's it, right? So Trace,
to kind of circle back for content purposes, I have been watching a lot of Gundam. That's been part of hobby for me, is watching a lot of Gundam. Style. Yeah.
No, Gundam. not Gangnam style.
Oh, damn.
And just to kind of cover bases, as far as I don't remember what we covered last time. I have painted a bunch of Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures, and I started doing, those were all in comic style, and then I also started painting up Skates Wild Hunt in comic style as well. And that's kind of where I kind of fell off.
Yeah.
But the Skates is kind of Night Elf inspired, but Night Elf comic book version. So it's going to be interesting, but they look good so far.
Yeah.
Just need to finish them up and get them done. And then I'll probably finish up Ripa, and I may transition him to comic style too.
Nice.
I've really been enjoying that. But,
that's cool.
But yeah.
That's good.
So that's it. Not a lot.
Nope. But a lot. It feels
a lot, but not a lot.
No.
Sweet.
Sweet. Well, I guess we'll take a break here, and then we come back. I think when I mentioned the order, I did it out of order, so that we're going to talk about quarantine life next.
Correct.
And then after that, we'll talk about the GW previews and the parts of that are relevant. Because if we try to talk about all of the GW previews,
it would take a whole episode.
We would do it would be like 3 hours. Anyway, so we'll take a break. We'll be back, and we'll talk about quarantine life.
So, listeners, I messed up, and I forgot to give the intro of the way of this next segment. So the next segment, we're going to talk about quarantine life. And this is just us having a conversation, and it may not lead to hobby talk, but we thought it would be best to share our feelings, our thoughts, what we're going through, our struggles, because everyone is in a very similar boat. So this is the next 20, 30 minutes. We're just going to talk about quarantine life, how it's impacted our families, how it's impacted us, and how it's impacted our hobby, just to share our experiences so you can hopefully relate and see you're not alone while you're out there. So with that, we'll lead into the segment. Welcome back. I'm back to talk about quarantine life as a hobbyist. I'm joined by two buds that I haven't seen in like 60 days. I don't know how I'm doing it. I guess you can count right now because I see both of your beautiful faces. And man, your haircuts are phenomenal. So how are you, tell me guys, like how are you getting through quarantine life? What's different? What's good about it? What's not so good about it? So we'll start with Trace. Trace, what do you like about quarantine life?
So it's a funny thing. So I was already working from home a couple days a week with my job. And for those on the podcast who don't know, I work for UNC Healthcare, and I do a lot of optimization for different practices that are trying to get better with like scheduling and stuff like that. And so our group goes in and we do a lot of technical stuff with the electronic medical record system that we use to make sure that they can be running as efficient as possible. But I can do that remotely. So I was already doing that 2 days a week anyway, and then I was going to the office the other 3 days a week. So it's really just been like working from home just permanently for me, which has been, it's been a major adjustment, obviously, but it's not been as bad for me because I had everything already set up. Like I've got a great setup at the house for me to work and I don't miss a beat. But outside of work, like it's been different because Jenny, my wife, is she's a school psychologist, and so when there's no
Are you sure she's not a teacher? I mean, last episode you did say she was a teacher. I'm just clarifying for the listening group out there.
I think he was pretty explicit in saying that she was not a teacher last episode, Jason.
She's a school psychologist. Anyway, but it's been a big change for her because a lot of the stuff for her involves like collaboration, actually seeing children, testing children, doing a bunch of other stuff. And so it's been really hard on her. She misses that team aspect. I still get to talk to my teammates virtually, call them, stuff like that. But the biggest thing for us has been trying to balance like what we want to do, right? So our son's home with us because we don't want him to be at daycare when he could be home with us. Paying for daycare sucked while he wasn't there. That kind of sucked. But luckily they called us this past like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And they said, hey, so for the month of May, here's what we'll do. We'll take your payment and we'll use that as a deposit for whenever you come back. So that's probably going to be in July. So we get to basically have 2 months where we don't have to pay for daycare, which is awesome.
Nice.
and it's great because they're holding their spot. And we didn't mind paying because we want them to keep their doors open, right? Like that's where he goes. We don't want him to lose his spot. We don't want them to close their doors. So we were more than we have the means to do that, and so that's what we did. We just kept paying, didn't pull him out. And then they were like, "There's no point in you doing that. Like, here you go. This is how this will work." So that's been interesting. As far as like hobbying goes, I did really good, at least initially. I feel like we all kind of did pretty good, at least at the start, at least hobbying wise. And I painted a lot, and I was doing a lot of different stuff and trying different projects, putting models together. I painted a whole set of like Warcry stuff. Got a new Warcry set and put it together. Started painting Skates Wild Hunt. I painted a bunch of Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures. But after a certain amount of time, because my hobby space is where I also work for my job, we only have so much space in our house, and so I just kind of doubled up that space. Once you sit there for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and then you get done, you just don't want to sit here anymore. Like you don't want to go, have dinner and play with your kid and then come back and sit down. I mean, you have a different feel. And if like I can go for a walk or something like that after work for a little while, if I break up my day enough to where I can actually feel like I've been productive but still been able to go out and like get a little exercise and stuff like that, then I'll come back and I feel pretty refreshed. And I'll sit down and I'll paint or I'll do something. But most days it's not. And even if I'm being 100% honest, a lot of that time has been because of what I do and what we've done to respond to all this pandemic stuff for my work. I'm usually working at night too. So like you guys can attest to that. Like there's been times that you guys been on and playing and I'm like, I'm working. I'll hang out, but I'm working. So that's kind of the broad strokes of what's going on on my end. And I know you guys can, relate.
Yeah, I totally can relate, Trace. I mean, Jared, like anything to add to that? Like what's been good for you in quarantine life?
Good for me?
Yeah, man.
Working from home?
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, I mean it's not even about working from home. It's about the lack of commute and being able to see my kids.
That's it for real.
In the morning and see my kids at night. And then, I mean, the real kicker is this, and, so Autumn's my 3-year-old, and she is in the midst of dropping her nap, but I got to spend the first month of quarantine. Every day I would put her down for her nap. And that is something that I missed. I mean, I just didn't see it. I would get to do it on Saturday and Sunday maybe. But that was 5 days a week of this just really like precious kind of intimate time with my daughter that I wasn't getting, except for twice a week, and it was great. And even now, like she's dropping her nap, and so I don't get that specifically, but I can like pop my head downstairs as I'm getting a second cup of coffee in the morning, and I can check in with Kyle, my son, to see how his remote school is going, and I take 3 minutes to ask him, well, what are you learning? Autumn is there at the table with him, and she's cutting something out, and
she's cutting something.
No, she is. She loves scissors and glue. She wants to just cut pieces of paper out and glue them together. But I can ask her like what she's making, and it's inevitably like a rocket ship or something. But that's been great. The being able to, like help cook dinner, or even come downstairs and be responsible for getting dinner together so that, my wife can have a break because she hasn't had one because she's been home, or she's been at work and she just got home. that there's more trade-off there.
Yeah, like you bring up a great, like the commute, like you just don't know how much of the day that sucks away. Um, it's you have the whole, for me it's like an hour that that you get back. Like it's so nice to wake up at 7 o'clock or 6:45. The kids get up, you get ready, and then wham bam, here I am in my office. I'm set, ready to go. Now for me it's only 1 or 2 days a week, but you bring up a really really good point there. Like one of the things that we are fortunate, and Trace mentioned it too, the kids, like we all have kids. So really spending a lot of time with them, like getting to treasure those moments in the morning where typically it's like, all right, let's go. We got to catch the bus or go to daycare, whatever it is. And I am a huge fan of like when 12:30 hits and I walk downstairs for lunch, and Emma's got some sort of contraption made. Like, here's this sandwich. You might not make it if you eat this thing, but go right ahead, Dad. It's for you. So it's been cute. And fortunately for me, unlike you guys, Sarah does also work, so we are still sending my children to daycare some days a week. So I haven't been able to contribute in certain ways like you guys have, or had to manage the child care situation from work and child care. But there are some positives, and family is one of them.
Absolutely. And just to kind of mirror what Jared said, like it's been pretty cool to just kind of to be able to walk downstairs and see like what James is doing. Like there are times when I walk downstairs and my son has completely dismantled a room, like from top to bottom. Like, for example, walk downstairs Thursday, and he has managed to find this black ribbon somewhere, and there's black ribbon strung from wall to wall to wall to wall to wall, and he's just like, I decorated for a party. And I was like, oh God. I'm like, I got a little, like I laughed, but then I got a little stressed out. I was like, I'm gonna have to clean this up. And Jenny came around the corner. She was like, I got it. I'll clean it up. But like, cause she's trying to do work too. And so we're just trying to survive. Right. So we're trying to do things, but he really is great. Like he'll, if I tell him he has rest time from 1 to 3, which is the same that he would have at daycare. So we try and make sure we keep to that routine. So in the morning we get up, and I've been really enjoying, just like you have, making him breakfast and like sitting down with him. I'll take my laptop down with me, and I'll just sit at the table, and I'll work, but I'll have my coffee and do other stuff and check my email and stuff like that while he's sitting there, and we'll talk. And it is really nice from the family aspect for sure.
Well, cool. So what's been the bad? We're not to the ugly yet, just the bad. Like what are some things that we've been struggling with to go through this the quarantine? No. Wants to go first.
So here's the problem: is like everything that is bad is ugly. Like
okay, well then just jump right into the ugly.
I mean, it's everything else. Like it's literally everything else. Like I can't.
Not leaving sucks.
Yeah, like I can't.
If you're truly quarantining, not leaving your house sucks.
Yeah.
The closet. You don't like living in the closet, Jared?
No, I don't.
Luckily, I'm not in a closet like you. For those who don't know, Jared legit put a new electrical outlet in a closet and bought a desk to put it, or moved a desk. Did you move it?
I moved it. Yeah, we already had a desk.
Moved a desk into this closet, and so he's literally been put into a closet.
Yeah,
for quarantine.
You can just call me Harry Potter.
It's a pretty big closet, to be fair.
Yeah. But
it's not big enough to be an office all the time.
No, it's not.
I'm luckily in our spare bedroom. So like our spare bedroom is like where I have hobby, and when the guests come over, I make sure everything's clean and everything, they stay here. But it also doubles as my workspace too. So
yeah.
I at least have a little bit of space in a window. Like I can
Yeah.
see out the window. I have a fan. So,
Yeah.
I mean, but
So, and for Jared too, being an extrovert, unlike a lot of
Yes.
us who are introverts, means that you don't get to unwind because you unwind by talking to people. So walk me through that, Jared. Like, what have you done to try to get through this crazy bad? You don't get to see anyone but your family.
Yeah. No. So I mean, I don't know. I have not unwound. I have not unwound really in 65 days, if I'm honest. I do things. So Trace mentioned taking walks. I do things to try to break the day up so that I'm not in the closet all day. So like, I've been taking walks. There's a greenway that's like maybe a block, like the trailhead of the greenway is a block from my house. And so I'll walk that, down to the end and then back up through the neighborhood during lunch. And that's, it can take me anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. So, I'm getting vitamin D and I'm out in nature and, and I'm unplugged from devices and all of these things, but it's not the way that I'm wired. And what it has turned into is all of that nervous, anxious energy is funneling into projects around the house, which I'm sure that my wife is both delighted and utterly irritated by. Because
Like what are you doing in the house, man?
So like stuff that we don't need.
Dad projects.
But things that like pictures we don't know where they want to get hung yet. We haven't decided and we haven't had a conversation about them.
Thunk. Yeah. That's where it's going.
Yeah. I'm just like hanging pictures. We had a piece of furniture that our TV was sitting on. Oh, speaking of which, we had a perfectly working TV, but I decided that we needed a bigger TV, so I bought a bigger TV. And she was like, "Oh, well," because she was sitting on the couch with me. This was like a Saturday morning, and I was like, I'm not on the commute. We've got the stimulus. Like, I want to put money back into the economy, right? All of these things. I'm like, it's a 100% justification. We're not paying tolls. I haven't put gas in my car but once in 65 days.
Yep. Truth.
It's like, we could afford a TV. And I didn't spend a ton. I bought basically the cheapest 55-inch TV that I could find. It's a dumb TV, if that tells you anything. It doesn't even have internet.
There's no Netflix. There's nothing.
No. All of that goes to the Xbox, which we had anyway. So I ordered the TV. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't know we were ordering it now because it came in 2 days later." And she's like, "Oh, I didn't know we were getting it now." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And I was like, "So are we going to get this piece of furniture for it or not?" And she was like, "I don't know how I feel about it." And I'm like, "Oh, but we need something to put the TV on." And she was like, "Well, we can just wait." And internally, mentally, I'm like, "No, we can't wait."
And Jared
there's a TV in a box.
Showed up 2 days later.
So we finally settle on a piece of furniture, but of course it's going to take a couple of weeks to get here. So in the meantime, I bust out one of my 2 foot by 4 foot gaming tables and literally open it up, set it over the current piece of furniture that the old TV was sitting on, because that piece of furniture was not wide enough for the new TV.
Oh my
God. And I do that during lunch when she has the kids out, for a walk. So she comes upstairs after work and she's like, "Oh yeah, I was wondering how long it was going to take you to set that TV up." So this spirals, right? So not only do I get a new TV set up, well, so now we have this other TV. So I'm like, well, where do we want another TV? And you judge me, call me weird. We're one of those families that doesn't want TVs in the bedrooms. And so it's the decision that we've made, and I'll probably regret it one day and change my mind. But we have a TV. I have another TV sitting upstairs in our bonus room. And I'm like, you know what? I'm in the suburbs. I'm going to do the most suburban thing I can think of, and I'm going to put a gosh darn TV in the garage.
Oh.
And so now I have a TV in the garage, but it's a dumb TV too. So then I buy a Chromecast. Well, the Wi-Fi signal from the Chromecast is not strong enough to actually work. So then I have to set up the old router as a repeater.
Yep.
And then I'm like, well, it's not very comfortable on this garage floor. So why don't I buy some EVA foam floor and put it down in the garage?
Wow.
Yeah, and there we go, folks. That sums up quarantine life.
That's right. So just all of that anxious energy that's getting balled up that I cannot unwind. I'm just like, do something, build something, make something.
you talk about this anxious energy. Is it because of the virus itself, or is it because it just disrupts your normal routines?
It's a disruption of the normal at this point. So my wife works in healthcare. She works in a hospital. She's not in direct contact with COVID-19 patients, but if anyone were going to get it at this point, like, it would be my family. Like, so, I've kind of accepted the fact that it probably potentially at some point it's going to make its way through our family. I'm prepared for that. It's not that. And like, she works in healthcare, so I know she's employed. I work in software, and I sell software to other software companies. So there's at least like 3 degrees of separation from kind of this major economic hit for me. So like, employment is not anxiety. Kyle is doing really well at remote learning. And because he's doing remote learning, Autumn is watching that remote learning. So like, even though she's not in preschool, like, she's doing sight words, and she's like doing number recognition and pattern recognition and all of these things because she's interested in what he's doing. So there's no anxiety for me about like, well, how is my family going to survive? Like, is my son going to be okay with school? Like, is my daughter going to be okay because she's not in school? Like, and my wife is an introvert, and she's like, I love quarantine. This is like, can we just have quarantine forever? Like, where I only have to like see you guys and my parents, and then I can stand 10 feet from our neighbors and talk to them once every 3 days. Like, can we do that forever? And I'm like, no, we can't. It really is like the things. Like, I want to go to lunch with my coworkers. I want to meet you guys at the hobby shop and play games, or just meet at the hobby shop and just talk shop. I want to go to a bar and have a beer. I want to go to a restaurant and sit in the restaurant and like talk to a waiter or talk to a bartender. Like, I need people, and I don't have people, and it makes me crazy.
Trace, anything to add to that? I mean, I know you went through some of the struggles, but anything that's really, really been a pain for you?
Pain for me. Really, I mean, like I said before, I do miss seeing you guys. Like, I miss seeing you guys. I miss seeing, my coworkers at work. I do miss that interaction with people. I've always kind of ridden the line, like, I can flip either way. Like, if I need to be to myself, I can be to myself. If I need to go and talk to somebody, I can turn that on and go do it. It's not a big deal for me. So like, I do miss the collaboration with my coworkers. I miss seeing you guys and playing stuff with you in person or just talking. I miss just going to a shop randomly and like just window shopping, like,
Yeah.
things that you just kind of took for granted that you might have done before. Like, if Jenny was working at, State one night, and she's, and I'm on my way to pick up James, like, I would stop at the shop and just say, hey, how y'all doing? And then just walk through a minute and then go back and go get James, and then I'll go home. Like, things that you can't do now because you're not commuting. So like, if I go to the shop, I would have to be like, Jenny, I'm going to the hobby shop. And she'd be like, why are you going to the hobby shop? Like, why is that happening? Why are you going? Like, are you going to wear a mask? Are you going to do this stuff? So like, it's just this whole other world that we live in where the things that were just super routine for us are now like out of the way things. It's just very strange. It's kind of surreal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, and I think that's one of the things that I've struggled with is you just can't swing by the store, right? Like, I wouldn't call myself a shopper, but when it comes to hobby, like, I don't need any more stuff. The way that I buy my hobby is I get out there and I like go there and be like, I might need that Warcry box of Stormcast Eternals. I don't know. Sure. And like, you have your acquaintances, and it's, for me, it's that find, right? Like, looking for something for a hobby. So yeah, that doesn't happen. Like, we just can't stop. So some very, very, good points there, guys, as far as what's good about quarantine is family, and what's bad about quarantine is you just can't interact the way you want to interact. The other point that you made there, Trace, is making a decision, right, to wear a mask or whatever it may be when you get out there. And that's what I've been struggling with. So the good for me is I could sit in front of these computers all day long. Like, I have to go to work because I am in retail, like essential retail. So I'm out there. I have to work. But every night when the kids go to bed, this is what I do. I get on the computers. That's my de-wind. I'd rather sit here and do all of that. So the first few weeks of quarantine was like that. I'm like with Daniela. I'm like, yeah, this is the bomb. Like my friends are getting online. We're playing tons of games. We're painting. We're hobbying. And then it all comes to a screeching halt because we have to survive and we have to adapt our lives to quarantine life. And for some, that's not sitting in front of the computer. When you're sitting in the same room all day long, it gets old. And for me going out there, it's the fear of bringing it back. So
Yeah.
like it's, I have the sanitizers in the car. I have the masks. I have the gloves. I have the wipes to wipe down steering wheels and handles. And, I'm very familiar with what to do as I go, but you just don't know when you're out there. And if it was just me, okay, whatever, I get sick. But having these two kids at home, it's like, okay, I'm spending 4 or 5 days out in stores. And then through those stores, I probably come in contact between, we'll just say 100 to 200 people a day, right? And you can only social distance the best you can. And I will say, getting out there into smaller communities, which I go, there's not a lot of masks. There's not a lot of people that even take it as a serious threat, at least from their actions. They may, but the way they're acting does not. So that has been the biggest struggle for me. And then also too, being a transplant. So, from New York, North Carolina, 2 small children, grandparents come and go often. And that has been the hardest thing is we've now gone through my daughter's 6th birthday. We're actually going through my wife's birthday this week. And then we have my son's 2nd birthday on the 1st of June, right? So grandparents aren't coming. And, little decisions like that, like, do they come? Do they not come? My daughter's birthday was right when we started quarantine. So it's like, do they come and get trapped? But much like Jared's like kind of resigned to the fact, like, it's going to come through this household, right? Now we're in the position where I'm out there every single day or 4 or 5 days a week. Like it may come through here. And then to invite people to the house, it's like, I'm exposing you. Like I'm patient zero in the Murray family. Like if someone's getting it, it's going to be me.
Right.
So how do we get that interaction with the grandparents has been difficult. We do the Skype calls, we do the Hangouts. You mentioned remote learning. My daughter actually, her, I guess, work, not there's the tablet work and then there's worksheets, but then there's a lot of reading and like just classroom activities that you don't really record. Well, the grandparents have taken that on. So 1 hour a night, an hour and a half a night, she gets on iPad and goes and sit in her little workspace and does it with grandparents. So that's been kind of cool.
That's really cool.
But still a challenge, right? So so that's the struggles for me. Like it's just the what if you're not safe and I come in contact with you. And eventually we're all going to have to make a decision, it's just the way it is. But hey, so what would be some tips for advice? Like, so one way that I unwind is video games and hobbying and chatting with you two fools. How are you guys unwinding? Like you mentioned some walks or stuff, but from a hobby perspective, what has been your best outlet to alleviate some of that tension that we may be able to pass along to our listeners? Like, how do you stay motivated? Because I'm going to sum it up in this, and this came to me today, of why I think some people are struggling with quarantine life. And I think we're struggling with quarantine life because we don't have anything to look forward to. You don't have like it's not like, oh, in October 1st we're going to have a vaccine, right? You don't know when the pandemic is going to end, and more importantly, that normal life, there's nothing to look forward to. You might look forward to waking up in the morning and spending time with your family, or dinner or whatever it may be, but it's kind of hard to look forward to anything, and I think that that's probably what we're struggling with. So how do you gauge your goals from a hobby standpoint to look forward to something to help our listeners? Any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. So, because I think you're right. I think as hobbyists, whether for the vast majority of us, we are building models, we are painting models for something. For an event. And that event doesn't need to be like a competitive organized event. It could be, the pickup game or the narrative game that we have scheduled in 2 weeks, or like just a pickup event, right? Just an open play event.
Yeah.
And did you want to have your models built and painted for it? And we don't have that now. So I think realistically for me is I think I need to accept that maybe my hobby is going to take a hit. And that if I want to stay motivated as far as the gameplay is concerned, I think it involves getting plugged into those online communities. And Warhammer Underworlds Online, is a great example of that. And then maybe even kind of stepping back from the tabletop hobby and, doing something that's just online. So like just video games. And so, if there's a video game that you enjoy, find other people that also enjoy that and kind of build a micro community around that so that you can schedule something so that you have like, oh, I know on Thursday night, I'm going to get to hang out with X, Y, and Z, and we're going to play, Diablo 3, or we're going to play, Fortnite, or whatever it is that people play these days on the video game consoles, because I'm so far behind. But you bring that up, Jason, and I was reading one of my coworkers linked an article in our work chat about how the anticipation of an event like releases dopamine, like, which is like the anti-stress hormone.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we don't have that, we just feel stressed all the time. So I don't know if you knew that there was science that was backing up your discovery, but it's there that there's.
I'm just a dullard. I mean, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, you just know what you feel. But so I think that's the best advice that I can give is plan, kind of shift your focus, if that's what it takes in order to kind of get the similar experience where you're not getting it where you used to. And for one of those is there's an upcoming online tournament this weekend that I'm participating in, that Trace is participating in as well, I believe, for Underworlds. So
yeah, I need to practice.
It's just
yeah, you do.
It puts something on the calendar that you can look forward to. And I think even doing other stuff like that, like find a restaurant that is doing pickup, one you haven't eaten at in a while, or one that you wouldn't normally eat at, and you just schedule it. Say, hey, as a family, in a week, we're going to be getting dinner from this place, and you make it a thing, so that you have something to look forward to, that you're not just in pure survival mode. Because I think one of the kind of benefits is that a lot of us don't have to live purely in survival mode, that we can do kind of brain hacks to keep us from just going day to day to day to day to day.
Yeah. Trace, any advice?
So a little bit of that planning stuff still gets triggered for me because of my work a little bit, because of the way that we deploy things. So like I do have things that I look forward to as far as the work part goes. One of the things that I was going to talk to you guys about at some point would be kind of doing something like a painting challenge, like what Jared and I did not too long ago. That's like 2 years ago now, probably, where we just kind of say, hey, by this date, like it doesn't matter what it is, like if you lay out what you want to do, and then you challenge each other, right? So that's something that we could encourage groups to do is, and then you post pictures, like take nice pictures of them, post them on a thing, and then maybe have like a little like painting competition or something like that. I think that those are little things that you can do virtually to keep yourself engaged with the hobby aspect. And then you have that to look forward to. And at the end of it, like when we come out of this, like you would have, if you're painting an army, you have an army to paint. Like you've got a painted army at the end of it all. The video games is a good point. That's something that I've been doing a little bit more of recently. Not the same video games as Jason and Jared, but I've been actually playing some Sea of Thieves and being a pirate and sailing the high seas, and it's kind of relaxing to go out and try and steal treasure from a bunch of skeletons and make it back to a fort, and hopefully you don't get ganked by a bunch of other players that are trying to also do the same thing. So I spent a long time doing that, probably Wednesday night, and I'd lost track of time. And that's the first time I'd actually lost track of time playing something in a long, long, long time. Like, started at maybe like 10:30, and the next thing I knew, it was like 2:30 in the morning.
Oof.
And, I was like, holy crap, like I need to go to bed. And I hadn't done that with a video game in a long time, at least by myself. So it was really relaxing, and kind of summed it up to one of my friends that actually does play. And I was like, so playing solo Sea of Thieves on a sloop is kind of like super relaxing mixed with being a terrified squirrel, because you just never know what's going to come around the corner. And all your hard work over the past 2 hours could be taken from you in like 3 minutes by a bunch of other players. So
that's funny.
But it was fun. It's a lot of fun. So that's something I have been doing. But like, I do need to get back on the painting wagon, and I think I need to try and break up my day a little bit more, as far as moving myself out of this room with my laptop. I have my work laptop I can take anywhere in the house and work. So I'm not as efficient, but if there's things that I don't need 3 screens for, I can take my laptop and sit with James while he colors or something like that. And I think that's something I need to do more of. But
yeah, I mean, I think both of those things are really good advice. Like, switch it up. For me, it's scheduling. Like, I want to get better with scheduling, having something to look forward to from a hobby aspect. And for those of our listeners out there, like, we're always here. So, whether it's Discord, Facebook, any of the social media, we're here to, to listen, to talk shop, and show that support. There's a lot of ways to be engaged in the hobby. GW has done a great job at releasing some solo plays. So, whether it's schedule something there, be like, the 30th of this month, I'm going to play, a solo game. And then that gives you a way to paint and play, and scheduling out, and simple things, right? Like, there's a lot of new movies out there on the digital formats, the new Star Wars, different like Onward, things that we've all watched here on this podcast. But schedule that with your wife or your significant other, or a Google Hangout, whatever it is. Get something on the books that you have to look forward to break up the monotony. But anyway, I appreciate you guys being vulnerable and sharing our quarantine life with everybody. I think we've established some great things that we can all do. So with that, we'll take a break, and we'll come back and finally talk about some hobby. Oh yeah.
Welcome back. So we have been lost in the warp for a little while, because there have been not 1, not 2, but 3 online previews since we last recorded.
And there's one on Saturday. What
There's
the
a-
heck?
Yes. So GW has not stopped their content train as far as like trying to get us hyped up to keep buying stuff, which we haven't been able to buy until this past week because of online stores being closed. So, but all that being said, there's been some pretty sweet stuff come out. So
Sweet.
we're gonna kind of do like a three preview roundup. And the first one that I think we're gonna talk about is one that really, really comes close to the heart of one of our members of the podcast, and that is the man himself for the Dark Angels, the Primarch. You know him, you love him, the Lion. Jason, how are you feeling?
The loin. The
The
loin is
loin.
good.
The
Loin,
loins,
Loin L. Johnson.
Loin L. Johnson.
I am super stoked about this model. The whole 30K line is really well done, but this model, like this Primarch, I think is done the best out of all of them. I may be a little biased, but they just nailed it. I mean, he has that awesome sword. I really like that you can have a helmeted head and then his normal head. And honestly, I'm struggling. Like when I get this model, I don't know how I'm going to build him because that helmeted head looks so cool.
Magnets.
Yeah, right. I probably won't paint this one myself, so don't know if I'm going to go with the magnet. It's not going to be played with. Like I can tell you that. Like it's just going to be a display piece. So I don't know what way I'll go. Maybe I'll go with the magnets, but it is
It's gorgeous.
it's so good, so
It
good.
is so good. I love the photoshops. So he has the lion sword, and like the hilt and the handle is exactly the hilt and the handle that's on the 40K Cypher model's back. And so people have taken photoshops and made it look like the lion 30K model is swinging Cypher around by his back. It's been pretty good.
Yeah,
It's been good. And
Yeah. I
and
thought that was
kudos.
a really good nugget of like an Easter egg style there.
Yeah.
It was cool.
And
Kudos to it.
kudos to the lion for winning the 30K Rumble.
Yep.
So they did it. So anybody that's been keeping up on the Warhammer community page, they've been doing these death matches and rumbles and things. And so for the 30K one, they did a round by round for the Loyalist side, and on the Heretic side, they did kind of a cage match. So they were all in the cage together, and I'm assuming that they were in the studio or on webcams or whatever, rolling dice to see what happened because they like name specific rules. But at the end of the day, the Lion won the Loyalist side, Horus won the Heretic side, and then they pitted the two of them together, and in the end, Chaos won.
It's just true.
Right, Jason?
No. I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
It's like a don't ask, don't tell type of situation. Okay, Jared?
That's right. It's keep it secret, keep it safe. But no, so the Lion won, and credit where credit is due. Like the writers of the Warhammer community page have done a pretty good job with these battles, and I think it's fitting. Like the Lion is, he's a baller.
He is, and the model itself, I think, just really does a really good job at blending 30K to 40K. Like it's obviously 30K armor, but there's enough hints to the way that the Dark Angels look in current 40K that it's just, I can't wait to get my hands on it and get it sent off for somebody to paint it. It may be Danny. Like we're all laughing, but this is a model that I totally would like to say, Danny, please, I'll pay you no money and paint this for me.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's really, really pretty. So speaking of chaos, right? So one of the things that has been kind of really fun for all of us to play has been delving into the Blackstone Fortress, right? So, and we've faced all the different chaos baddies in that, at least in the first in the original, but we still have to go through the new Chaos expansions plus the Traitor Guard and some other stuff. And now we just find out that they're releasing the final expansion for that game, which is Ascension. And Jared, it looks like it's got some big versions of Gribblies that we've dispatched in the game already. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's cool. The giant drones. I can't even remember what they're called now. It's been so long since we played.
Spindle drones.
Spindle drones, yeah. So they're like super spindle drones. Like one
They're
of them
called
has
Guardian drones, the big ones.
the big ones, and one of them has like a spindle drone on its base
Yes.
for scale, which is better than using a banana, I suppose.
It's true.
But it's cool to see. So I'm gonna segue here and go off on a tangent. But so the TV shows that my wife and I watch that we like the best are the TV shows that are like written with a clear ending in mind. Lost.
That's a good TV show.
No, that's an example of
Oh.
a TV show that did not have a clear ending in mind.
Okay.
And so it's good to know that like this, expedition into the Blackstone Fortress has a beginning and a middle and an end. Like it's been like a designed campaign. Even if it wasn't designed fully from the beginning, at least they've written an end to it. And so there can be like a completeness to it, which I can really appreciate. And the fact that we're getting like more like mechanical beings from the Blackstone Fortress itself as a part of this final expansion is pretty cool.
I mean, what are your guys' thoughts that it is the final expansion? Like it only seems like yesterday we were sitting at Nova when they announced the Blackstone Fortress, and now they're announcing the conclusion, and who knows where it goes from here, right? Does the game continue? Does it come out in a new setting? But like, I mean, to me, it sounds like there's going to be a gap. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I think it's fine. And I was actually going to kind of propose that question myself. Like, do we see another one? Or is this going to be it? Like, is this just going to be, has this whole thing run its course? I mean, I just don't know, because the thing that gets me is that they released the game that kind of turned us on to this, which was, the Silver Tower. We really liked playing Silver Tower. And then they released the new one, which was Shadows Under Hammerhall, and we never played it. And there wasn't no other one after that. So, and that was kind of a more traditional, like, dungeon crawl. That one was where you actually had somebody who's supposed to run the bad guys as opposed to like an AI. So I think that they learned from that, but I just don't know. I don't know if we're going to have like a different, like, Warhammer Quest. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it could be there, and I think that's the thing to remember, is that it's not like Blackstone Fortress is not the game. It's Blackstone Fortress is the flavor of Warhammer.
Correct.
Quest.
Yep.
And so, I mean, who knows where they? Maybe they set something in 30K.
Maybe.
Since I don't know, or they go back to Age of Sigmar, or they do something else.
Or Necromunda Quest. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
It just seems weird to me. Like last Christmas or whatever it was, they which I just picked up, like it was almost like the 2019 update where they like wrap all the White Dwarf and all the like small things into one book, whatever they're calling them, I forget. But
The annual or whatever.
the annual, yeah, like they bring out an annual now. The story's over. I really truly hope that Warhammer Quest continues in some sort of sci-fi setting.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think it was more easily approachable for our gaming group for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've all kind of said that it was some of the most fun we've had as like a group as a whole, delving into the depths of the Blackstone Fortress, and we're not done yet. Like, we've still got a lot more to do.
Yeah, there's still a lot to be had there.
There's still a lot to be done. Lots more loot to find, and
Share just takes it all.
partners to try and screw over. See
You're the worst. You're all the worst.
How many hexes we can get to before the other person does. But kind of, I really hope that they continue doing the setting, just like Jason said. To kind of move away from that, though, we've got some really big things, really big, like giant things coming for Age of Sigmar. Giant.
Would you say that these releases will be gargantuan?
Oh, I see what you did there.
They're behemoth stuff, sons of Behemoth.
They are.
So you have this. So we have big boys coming to Age of Sigmar, and these models are gorgeous.
Oh, they're crazy good.
Insane. If you had issues with the old giants, you're probably not going to have issues with these giants, because I've heard some people on various different media talking about like, oh, the Gargan kit sucks, like the arms are weird, the legs are weird, he's got a big pot belly, he looks all strange. Well, that's one of the first like big plastic kits that they came out with.
Yeah.
And they've had a lot of time to refine that skill set since then. So I'm really excited to see those kits. And the cool thing about it, at least from my perspective, is like no matter what army you play, it's basically like the knight equivalent of Age of Sigmar. The Imperial Knight can be bolted on to any army in 40K, and I think you're going to get the same kind of feeling with this model because they can be used with any faction. So, they got that big shiny kit, they want to sell it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it shapes how people play Age of Sigmar too. I'm not going to lie, like it would be awesome to have nothing but an army of giants to play with.
Yeah. It'd be sweet.
What do you guys think?
So I think the models are awesome, and I think one of the things that gives me hope about them in the game is the fact that your profile does not impact my model's ability to hit and to wound you outside of like special abilities.
There's buffs and debuffs.
Buffs and debuffs.
Spells,
but like if my guys hit on 4s and wound on 3s, they're going to hit on 4s and wound on 3s, whether they're fighting Mega Gargants or they're fighting Skaven slaves. Like, it's the same. And I think that that's kind of the saving grace. Now, on the flip side, what also works out well is that it's really hard to tarp at big models because damage carries over. So if you are swinging a giant club around and a giant club does a flat 4 damage, well, every failed armor save means that 4 wounds go through. And if that's on 1 wound models, that means 4 models die. So I feel like the balance between infantry units and giant monsters in Age of Sigmar is a little better than what currently exists in 40K, where
I agree. The problem with some of the big stompy robots in 40K is that a lot of them are hard to take down unless you actually bring weapons specifically designed to take down large targets, like high toughness large targets.
Yeah.
So in Age of Sigmar, the lethality in Age of Sigmar is what makes it fun, right? Like no matter what you do, you could lose your model if somebody plays well and gets the right models into it. So Jason, what do you think about the big boys?
Yeah, I think they're good. I mean, they don't really grab me as far as an army to play. Like, I think the analogy of putting them in as a knight is great. The models themselves are great, though, as far as like the little subtle details that are on them, from like Khorne symbols to Empire flags, stuff like that. Like they're all great models. Can't wait to see them on the table. They're freaking giant. Like they're going to be huge models. So that I'm really, really stoked and looking forward to seeing the model themselves. But the army doesn't really interest me.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think that you'll see them more in that capacity of being bolted on to something rather than seeing a whole army of them. I mean, I could be wrong. They could be super good as an army. I think that you'll have issues running just an all behemoth army in Age of Sigmar just based on the way that the holding objectives work. Certain models like ogres, for example, they count as more than one model for everybody that you have within a certain range of the objective. But if that giant rolls up and he doesn't have a special rule, he's just one model. So my one ogre versus your one giant, if you don't kill me, I hold the objective. So I think that that's going to be something that they're going to have to. I think there'll be unique ways that they use that. But otherwise, I think they'll struggle as a whole army. Anyway, so moving on beyond that, we have another set of new releases that they've basically done almost the entire reveal for now, and that's the Lumineth Realm Lords, right? So those are our new fancy elves, our pointy elves, as they like to talk about them in the teaser previews. So
proper elves.
So
So what do you guys think about those?
So these, and I think we talked about it at the first preview. I can't recall, or it might have been just someday they were talking with Danny, where I really like them. Like, I think the battle box that they're bringing out is a really cool force from the spearmen with shields and horses, and that's when I think of fantasy or rank and file style games. This is the army that I'm attracted to, and I know that they've been getting a lot of, I don't know, memes or made fun of because of the large bowls or mountain cows. But I kind of like them. I mean, the headdresses on the guys that have the hammers, the elves themselves that have the hammers, are a little bit wonky. But I also know that every single time we look at something from GW, like sometimes there's just that one model of the picture is like, I don't know. But then you get it in front of me, and it's like, okay, these guys are awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Yes. So and they're taking a chance, man. Like these renders and CAD designs are just way out there, and I love the fact that it's grounded in realistic looking time period, with, like I said, spears and swords and cavalry, and then just so far left field with a giant mountain cow.
Yeah.
With your Realm of Light yak.
It's long. I don't know, whatever. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's good looking.
Yeah, it's cool.
No, I agree. I think that they've taken a lot of chances over the past couple years with the fantasy lines. And I give it to them. Like when the Idoneth Deepkin first came out, I think that people were like, what is all this going on? But then when we actually saw the models, we were like, these are amazing.
Yeah.
Like, sea elves are a thing, and they are awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna be cool.
I think it's probably the biggest risk design-wise that they've taken in Age of Sigmar, though. Like, I mean,
The mountain cow or the sea elves?
No, the Lumineth with the giant headdresses and elves with hammers and the giant cow mountain.
I think the biggest thing that they're going to struggle with is that they've painted it as Teclis's army, and like these are basically your through the realms high elves, and I think that that's where people are going to struggle, is because they don't really. Some of them share the high elf aesthetic a little bit, but there's like the ones with the hammers. They don't.
Right.
The mountain cow does not.
The guy floating on the piece of rock.
Yeah, like he looks like a Tibetan monk with a really fancy headdress on. Like it's just, it's kind of out there. And I think that the people that really wanted something kind of adjacent to the high elves of old are probably not going to get that. Like, your Daughters of Cain were basically like a transplant of having, they've been expanded on, but your base troop was still the witch elf that you were really familiar with from the old game.
Right. Yeah.
So I just think that that's going to be kind of a struggle for some people. I like the Lumineth models, but I mean, I like pretty much any of the fantasy model armies that are out right now.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's going to be cool, and I'm interested to see. I think that there's other stuff that we haven't seen just yet with them, because that's not the whole force. There's got to be other stuff, or at least they're multi-kits that we haven't actually seen the other alternate builds for. So,
yeah.
And I'm sure Tyrion's floating around somewhere, because they're in the same realm, and they're supposed to be sharing that realm. So, I don't know. But yeah. So moving into the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there's been several releases that have been announced for this, most of them in the forms of characters.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk through those a little bit. One's a big one, like one's a really big player that we've not seen in a while, and he's had a really, really aged model. And he's kind of in the vein of what Jason would play if he was going to play Chaos, I think. So, what you think about old Fabulous Bile?
Always fabulous. I mean, it's a cool model. I'm more like, the model is cool, the character is cool. The release of him has me intrigued on where the story goes, because if they're ever gonna kind of cross that whole Primaris Chaos Primaris mutation, this would be the prime point, right? You bring out his model, his little minion that's with him is harvesting the gland from a Primaris Marine, so like it's like this could be it, and that's what I'm more excited about. And you are correct, like if I was to play a Chaos army, it would be based on the Emperor's Children's. So this could be a good segue into another army for me from a 40k standpoint. But I really hope that the story evolves, and we've talked about that over multiple casts now. So I'm more excited for that aspect of that model than I am for the model itself. Although it's a great sculpt.
You sure you're not going to start a Black Legion army now after reading those books too?
Well, maybe we'll do an episode on those books, but for those that have not read, and I'm on an Aaron Dembski Bowden kick here lately, but I did finish the Talon of Horus and Black Legion, and they are amazing books. They truly are some of the best 40k fiction that or nonfiction. You'll never know.
Future nonfiction.
Yep. So after that, we had an Inquisitor. Jared, what do you think about that Inquisitor?
It's an Inquisitor in power armor,
And
which is
what
not
else?
currently available in the rules. And she has got like a pet dragon and a shuriken catapult. So she is clearly a radical Inquisitor, which, you got to do what it takes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Grey Knight stance. If you got to sterilize an entire planet's worth of people, that's what you do to keep your secrets.
Well, she's gonna shuriken some people, which I'm really excited.
And I think I mean, the model just looks cool. She's got a pet dragon, and it's not just like on her arm. She's got like a power fist. So
yeah, it's really cool. Like I was really impressed. And it's very Baroque. Like the armor is very Baroque.
yeah, it looks like it looks almost like Stormcast Eternal.
Yeah, it does. Almost like they planned it.
Yeah.
And then the one that I thought was the model that I thought was a really cool port from the old model to the new one, which is Illuminor's Xeras, which is the Necron priest model, basically. That model is super cool. Just the way that they've achieved the like sucking of the material of the body into his staff or his ball is super, super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. That part of the model is really cool and intense.
Yeah, it's super intense. But just talk about a facelift, man. Like, he went from being tiny and on like a 40 mil base to being on like a 60 and super imposing, and he looks like a Necron Lord.
The scale up in general, for all 40K has been well needed. And, for someone that has a fully painted or, 85% painted Necron army, seeing them out, I was like, oh, what do I do now? It's like, do I sell it while the new model comes out, or do I just incorporate the new model into the Force? Because it is very, very fitting. And the Necrons honestly needed that. Like, their range, although a lot of it is plastic, some of it is tired. So
yeah, just the basic Necron warrior is pretty dated now. And I think the Immortals too are pretty dated.
Yeah.
The oldest model I think right now that they have for that's not been updated is the Destroyers, I believe. I don't know, but some of those models have been out for a while.
Right.
At least 10 years. So getting some facelifts is really cool. And then Jared, why don't you talk to us a little about the Monofuge and Harlequin?
Yeah, so I to be honest, I don't know that much about the story. All I know is that these are characters from a graphic novel that was released, and I missed the graphic novel when it was originally released, and so I'm probably going to play the part of Jason and buy the graphic novel when it's released. So I'll be the whale for this purchase. Normally I'm pretty measured in my hobby purchases, but just from what I understand of the story, that she's like a sister battle, and she's had some encounters with chaos that have made her questionable in the eyes of her sisterhood. She's got this Harlequin companion that hangs out with her, which is also kind of heretical. Mm-hmm. So, just seeing that gray area of 40K be explored in a graphic novel setting is really cool. And then just the models themselves look pretty sweet. So I may end up purchasing them as well, just to have and to paint up, kind of something that's limited, make it a display piece or something. But I just enjoy exploring the 40K universe in all of the mediums that are available, and that includes a graphic novel, then I'll buy and read a graphic novel.
Well, and soon we'll be able to consume in a visual way.
Yeah, I know that. Cool. Yeah, it's got all the what is it? What is it? What's it called? Warforge, Warhammer Forge,
Warhammer Forge, I think is what it's called.
Angels of Death.
Storyforge.
Storyforge. Yeah.
Storyforge is like the studio or whatever, but yeah, Angels of Death, the teasers that have been released for that, and then teasers for other things too, like the animated stuff with the assassins, and there's a lot of content.
Yeah, it's gonna be
multimedia content coming out.
It's gonna be really cool.
That's called Hammer and Bolter, the one with the assassins.
Okay, sweet. So Hammer and Bolter to look forward to. Angels of Death, so the one about the Blood Angels. All of that to look forward to.
Yep. So those are all really cool things, but one thing that's going to be heating things up here soon for us.
Well played.
Yep.
Really, really heating things up are the Scions of Flame for Warcry. So we have I think this is our final warband, right? It's the final warband from the core book
From the core book, yeah.
that are finally being released, and these guys look awesome.
They're so good.
They look awesome. They look very, I don't know, almost Eastern inspired, like very
They're
samurai
very
driven.
Far East is a good way.
Super Far East and samurai armor and kind of the Oriental dragon type inspirations for their armor
And they're on fire.
fire everywhere.
One of them is literally on fire.
And he has a sweet mask. I mean, all the Warcry warbands like really speak to me. I mean, just the human aesthetic mixed with historical themes has been very, very, very well done in all the warbands. But this one, I mean, there's like, he's basically dressed in traditional samurai armor that has a chaos 8-pointed star on its shoulder. With the full mask, sword, it's kind of a good blend between Conan the Barbarian setting in a Far East setting.
Yeah.
Just so well done, and I can't wait to see their stat lines. I can't wait to see these models. They're, even the low ones like the henchman style have great design work here. So
yeah.
They've got looks almost like dragon scales and stuff like that on there.
Yeah.
They're from Akshi, obviously, the Realm of
they
Fire. Really, really impressed with those models. Can't wait to see those in person. Paint them up, maybe.
A lot of movement in them too, like something that the Warcry warbands they all have, but there's just this flow to them, and when you add the fire, it gets even more pronounced.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're all very fluid, models. Speaking of fluid models, though,
on point with the transitions tonight. Seriously.
So the next one is the first Warcry warband that we've seen that is not specifically or not said to be chaos. But these are elves. They're called the Khainite Shadow Stalkers, and they look awesome.
No, like this. So this, we say. I feel like I say this a lot, but like the sculptors are just straight flexing on us at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have sculpted weaponized shadow in this model.
So cool.
Yeah,
like
it's ridiculous.
The Prime model, its cloak is like clasped across its chest, and the one part of the cloak that's like the short end of the cloak that's clasped is like fading into shadow.
Yep.
And then I mean, as far as I can tell, it looks like the back of the cloak like flows behind the model and then comes around in front of it, flows into shadow, and then that shadow flows into like the staff, the head of the staff. So it's like this, whoever this model is has like summoned its cloak out of shadow from its staff. It's just like, I can't just go to the website, look at the pictures.
Nuts.
It's amazing. Like, they're so cool.
And they've taken a lot of what they learned from the Dark Eldar sculpts and put that into these, because this, like, the face on this looks like a a witch head, like a witch's head.
Yeah.
Eldar witch. And that's what I thought it was, at least initially. I was like, oh, they're releasing like a new Dark Eldar character. No, that's not for a war guy.
So that didn't that model appear in one of the things you talked about earlier, like Warhammer Quest or?
So there's Go ahead, Trace.
You go ahead.
Well, I can't remember what it's called. So
you had there was two. There was Mistweaver Sai, and then there was another one that was it was like a dark elf assassin, like almost like a I forgot what his name was though. That one escapes me. But there was two, and And I don't think that these are related to either one of those. I think those two kind of live outside of the different, so they're not like Lumineth or anything like that. I think that they're something else.
Okay.
But the Mistweaver has the blank-faced helmet.
She does. Her like aesthetic though is very different than this. Like she has the same like the blank face, but to me, like she looks very different from these folks. What I do think that I think these are our first Realm of Shadow Elves, though. Like I think these are truly our first like Malarion's Coven models that we are seeing.
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
I cannot wait for that Malarion model.
It's gonna be nuts, man. It's gonna be nuts.
Why did I buy Sleeves to Darkness? I'm so like.
Listen,
because you like barbarians. That's why.
I do.
And if it weren't for quarantine, we probably would have played games of Age of Sigmar by now.
This is true. You would have had a reason to play with them.
Like these 3 models, and I mean, who knows if the Warband's gonna be more than 3 models or not? But these 3 models are just.
No, they're so good.
So sick. Like, I want to see the rules with the shadows. You got a guy that's got 2 crossbows. Like, I mean, now you're talking, right? 2 crossbows. And my favorite one's the one with it looks like a female model that has the full cloak, like, wrapped around them.
Yeah. Right. She's, like, throwing her cloak forward.
Yeah. Just because that thing that Jared was talking about where it's, like, shadow and material, I think that one is, the best representation of that, and I'm interested to see what's on the other side.
Yeah, it's I think we're definitely on the precipice of some cool stuff coming to the Age of Sigmar realms, and with that, we are going to close out this segment and take a break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes with the sign out, I think.
And we're back, and that'll wrap us up. So as always, we want to say thanks for taking the time to listen. We appreciate the interactions that we've gotten. One thing that has been kind of nice is that, we get these little bursts of activity on Discord, which has been pretty cool. I want to encourage you to join our Discord server, hit us up, leave a message, post your hobby progress, talk about games you're playing, ask us questions, just to engage with us. It's one of the ways that, we can still kind of engage, and it's more or less real time. So the link for the Discord server will be in the show notes. It's also on our website, podcast.battle-mallet.com. You can find us on Facebook at Battle Mallet Podcast. We're on Twitter at Battle Mallet1, and we're on Instagram at Battle Mallet PCast. And the honest reality is that those channels have been a little slow of late, but hopefully we'll kind of get the hobby juices flowing, and the feeds there will pick back up. So I guess what we have to say is, put stuff on the calendar. If you're struggling, reach out. You can reach out to us, reach out to your loved ones. This is definitely not normal, and
it's okay to not feel normal.
Yes. It's okay to be stressed. It's okay to be anxious. Like, we're in the midst of a global pandemic.
It's okay to have parent fails.
Yes, it is okay to have parent. It's okay to have spouse fails, partner fails, roommate fails. Like, this is not normal. So just be open, be real. So for the Battle Mallet Podcast, we are 3 dads and an absent coffee mug photographer. This is Jared signing out.
This is Trace signing out.
And I'm Jason Tableby Murray. Stay safe out there, everyone. Get the hell out of here. Peace.
The Battle Mallet podcast is protected under the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find more information via links on podcast.battle-mallet.com. Music by Anno Domini Beats. Jason, do you need to go pee?
I do so bad.
I saw you bouncing. Go pee.